Our friendship began in the simplest, most innocent way imaginable. I was just 7 years old when my family moved into the neighborhood where Bianca lived. Back then, I was the kind of quiet child who preferred books over people, the kind who would sit by the window for hours just observing the world outside. My mother used to say I was mature for my age, but the truth was much simpler. I was lonely. Bianca changed that. One afternoon, she showed up at my door holding a bright-colored lollipop. Her face lit up with a wide, confident smile. She told me that all the neighborhood kids were outside playing hide-and-seek and insisted that I come join them. From that day forward, she became a constant presence in my life, as if she had always been there. We grew up side by side, sharing everything. Our secrets, our notebooks, our dreams, and all the frustrations that come with growing up. Bianca was everything I wasn't. She was bold, outgoing, and magnetic. She was the one who started conversations, invented games, and pushed me to step outside of my comfort zone. And me? I was the opposite. I listened more than I spoke. I observed more than I acted. I kept my emotions tucked away and offered quiet support whenever she needed it, especially when she cried over boys who ignored her or when she was upset about her grades. Bianca had a presence that demanded attention. It often felt like the world naturally revolved around her, and maybe in some ways it actually did. She was strikingly beautiful, the kind of person who turned heads wherever she went, and she had a charm that could easily win over anyone. I remember watching her talk her way out of trouble more than once, convincing teachers to give her second chances on exams, or persuading security guards at the mall to let us into movies we were too young to watch. She had this effortless ability to bend situations in her favor with nothing more than a smile. And I would just watch, both fascinated and slightly uneasy, because no matter how close we were, there was always this quiet feeling inside me, a subtle ache that told me I would never quite measure up beside her. Still, I never questioned our friendship. She gave me something I desperately needed, companionship. And in return, I gave her what she seemed to value most, loyalty. We made promises to each other, the kind only kids believe will last forever. We swore we'd never drift apart, that we would stand beside each other as maids of honor at our weddings, that our future children would grow up as best friends. She told me I was the only person who truly understood her, and I believed her. Looking back now, I see things differently. I held on to the idea that Bianca needed me, that beneath her confidence there was someone fragile who depended on my presence. But the truth is much harder to accept. I wasn't essential. I was convenient. And being convenient is not the same as being loved. The bridesmaids began dropping subtle remarks, the kind that sound harmless at first but carry a hidden edge. They would hint that some people were putting in more effort than others. One of them even joked, half laughing, "So, are we all contributing to the honeymoon suite upgrade?" I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled back. Because by that point, I wasn't being treated like a friend anymore. I was being treated like a credit card in a formal dress. During the week leading up to the wedding, I seriously considered not going at all. I thought about making an excuse, disappearing quietly. But I didn't. Maybe it was old loyalty that kept me tied there. Maybe it was pride. Or maybe some naive part of me still believed that at the last moment, she would remember who I was, not what I could give. The wedding day finally came. It was held at a rented estate up in the mountains, styled straight out of a Pinterest board. Rustic chic decorations everywhere. Gourmet food trucks lined up, a custom cocktail bar, and even a massive LED screen displaying their initials in glowing gold. I arrived early just like she had asked. I wore the exact dress color she had chosen. I had my hair professionally done. I took part in the photos, smiled when I was supposed to, laughed when prompted. I played my role perfectly. Bianca looked breathtaking, truly stunning. Her dress fit her like it had been made just for her. Her hair was flawless, every strand in place. She radiated beauty. But her eyes were different. They weren't the ones I remembered. There was no warmth in them anymore. Only tension, like something building beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to explode. While we were getting ready, she barely spoke to me. She didn't include me in the side conversations, the laughter, the intimate little moments. I was physically present, but emotionally excluded. Right before we lined up to walk down the aisle, she glanced at me, forced a tight smile, and whispered, "I hope today, at least, you're actually present." It sounded polite on the surface, but it was a quiet jab wrapped in elegance. I didn't answer. I simply walked. I held my bouquet, took my place at the altar, and did everything expected of me. The ceremony itself felt more like a performance than a genuine expression of love, something staged for the cameras, for the guests, for appearances. Still, I stayed, not for what we had become, but for what we once were. But the worst part hadn't happened yet. Later, during the reception, after the first dance, the emotional speeches, and the endless family photos, Bianca took the microphone. She began by thanking the bridesmaids, calling us her magical fairies. One by one, she invited each girl onto the stage, praising them, hugging them, making them feel seen. It was my turn. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "And finally," she said, locking her gaze on me, "my most reserved bridesmaid, the one who's always too busy to reply, but somehow made time to be here today." A few people chuckled awkwardly. "The same one," she continued, "who thought our gift list was a bit too much. But hey, they say love isn't about money, right?" A ripple of uneasy laughter spread through the crowd. Then she paused deliberately. "Still," she added, "thank you for coming, even if you didn't bring a gift." Silence. In front of everyone, her family, her friends, the photographers, the entire room, she humiliated me. And in that exact moment, something inside me broke. But I didn't react. Not then, because my response was still coming. By that point, I wasn't enjoying anything anymore. Not even a little. I had spent the entire day pretending, smiling for pictures, laughing on cue, raising glasses in fake celebration. Inside, I felt drained, completely exhausted. And more than anything, I felt disgusted by how artificial everything had become. This wedding didn't feel like a celebration of love. It felt like a production. A glitter-covered stage where Bianca was the star, and everyone else existed only as background decoration. And even with all of that, I still hadn't expected what came next. It was late in the evening. The music had softened, guests were slightly drunk, the lighting had turned warm and romantic. It was the perfect atmosphere for a grand finale. Bianca stepped onto the small stage again, this time holding Rodrigo's hand. She wore a smile that clearly signaled she was about to reveal something big. She lifted the microphone and paused dramatically, just like she always did. "Everyone," she began, "tonight has already been perfect, but we still have one more surprise." The crowd leaned in. The DJ lowered the music. "We want to share the most special gift we received tonight," she continued. "Something beyond anything we could have imagined." A strange feeling twisted in my stomach. A warning. A house. Gasps filled the room. Applause erupted. People shouted, "No way," and "Oh my God," clapping excitedly. I froze, completely still. "Yes," she went on, smiling proudly. "A house. Our very first home together. A symbol of our future, our love, our family." Then she turned toward Rodrigo and back to the audience. "But the most beautiful part is how this gift came to be." My chest tightened. I felt sick. "It was a surprise," she said, "organized by my incredible bridesmaids." She paused again. "They all voted. Anonymously, of course," she continued. "They voted on who among them would be the most suitable to give such a gift." My heart dropped. "And the one they chose." Her eyes locked directly onto mine. I already knew. I knew exactly where this was going. Our wonderful, brilliant, successful millionaire maid of honor. Everything stopped. The music, the conversations, even the air felt frozen. The entire room turned toward me. Phones were lifted. Whispers spread like wildfire. Bianca started clapping. Rodrigo looked at me with that same smug expression he had worn during that lunch weeks ago. "And let's give her a huge round of applause," Bianca added, "for this incredible act of generosity." The crowd burst into applause. I remained completely still, frozen between disbelief and anger. People around me leaned in, patting my shoulder. "Wow, a house. That's incredible. I didn't know you two were that close." She really went all out. "No, No, no, no. I stood up, slowly, not to smile, not to hug her, but to stop this entire spectacle. I walked toward the stage, each step deliberate, steady. I reached her, took the microphone from her hand, and spoke. My voice was calm, too calm. I didn't give anyone a house. The room fell silent instantly. Rodrigo looked confused. Bianca froze. No one told me about this. No one asked me. No one voted on anything with my knowledge. This was never discussed with me. I paused, letting every word settle. And I'm not going to stand here and let people assume that just because I have money, I owe anyone something like that. Bianca let out a nervous laugh, trying to recover. Oh, come on, she said quickly. It was symbolic. Just a way to show appreciation. Symbolic. I repeated. A house. I shook my head. No, let me be very clear. I'm not anyone's parent. I'm not here to finance someone else's adult life. If you want a house, then work for it like I did. Struggle for it like I did. Build it from nothing like I did. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed phones recording. At least 3 people were filming. Bianca's face twisted with anger. She snatched the microphone back from me. You are unbelievable, she snapped. Selfish. Cold. After everything I've done for you over the years, this is how you act. Her voice rose louder with every word. The mask was gone now. You think you're better than everyone, don't you? Always the smart one, the rich one, the important one. The room grew tense. You know what? She shouted. Get out. Get out of my wedding. You are no longer welcome here. She pointed toward the exit. Go back to your penthouse, or your startup, or whatever it is you care about, because you clearly don't care about real people. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some people laughed awkwardly. Others just stared, stunned. I looked around, at the faces, the phones, the judgment. For a brief second, I almost felt embarrassed. Almost. But then something inside me shifted, cleanly, completely. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't say another word. I picked up my purse, turned around, and walked away. Step by step, head held high. Outside, I could already hear the music start up again, as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. A line had been crossed. A friendship had ended. And a storm, one she never saw coming, had already begun to form. Because I don't shout. I don't humiliate. But when I respond, it's never expected. And Bianca had no idea that my response was already on its way. I thought that was the end of it. That the humiliation, that calculated exposure in front of everyone, would be the final chapter of a friendship that had, in truth, been over for a long time. But that's not how things work anymore. Not in a world where everything is recorded. Not when social media thrives on real-life drama, especially the kind filled with arrogance, betrayal, and just enough revenge to make it irresistible. The morning after the wedding, I woke up to dozens of messages. Some were from old friends who had already seen the videos. Others were from numbers I didn't even recognize. What started as a few messages quickly turned into a flood. On TikTok, a video of Bianca kicking me out of her wedding had already surpassed 400,000 views before noon. The caption read, "Bride kicks out millionaire maid of honor for not buying her a house." The comments were brutal. She wanted a house? That's not friendship. That's extortion. The maid of honor handled that like a queen. I would have thrown the mic at her. She didn't want a friend. She wanted a bank account. On Instagram, screenshots from our bridesmaids group chat began circulating. Someone, and to this day, I still don't know who, had leaked messages showing Bianca pressuring the bridesmaids, making passive-aggressive remarks, and clearly implying that I had a moral obligation to contribute more. Everything was out in the open, and people chose sides. Within 48 hours, the narrative had completely flipped. I was no longer seen as the cheap maid of honor. I had become something else entirely, a symbol of boundaries, of self-respect, of refusing to be used. The message was everywhere. Stop treating successful women like ATMs. And Bianca? She became a meme. Me at my friend's wedding waiting for her to buy me an iPhone 15 Pro Max. If you want a sofa, go sit in a store with some humility. She was tagged in everything. She lost control of the story. On the 3rd day after the wedding, she finally texted me. The message was cold, sharp, and filled with resentment. Thanks for turning my wedding into a public circus. Hope your little empowerment campaign is going well. Never thought you'd be the one to stab me in the back like this." I read it, took a breath, and replied calmly, "I didn't do anything except tell the truth. What you did to me, in front of everyone, that's not something you do to anyone, let alone someone you once called your childhood friend. So please, Bianca, forget me." She never responded, and after that there was silence. For months, I moved on. I focused on my life. I traveled, closed a new round of investments, got invited to speak on podcasts, interviews, and events, talking about boundaries, toxic friendships, and emotional manipulation. And for the first time in years, I felt something real. Peace. Until he reached out. Rodrigo. His profile had changed. No couple photos. No wedding ring in the picture. Just a simple message. "Hi, I'm not sure if I should be doing this, but I wanted to apologize. That whole situation went too far. I was never okay with how she treated you. I hope you're doing well." I stared at his message for several minutes. Part of me wanted to delete it immediately, block him, and pretend it had never appeared. But another part of me, the part that doesn't forget, made me open it. I didn't answer right away. A few days later, I finally replied, short and direct. "I'm fine. And yes, it went too far. That could have been the end of it. But it wasn't." He kept writing. At first, the conversation moved slowly, cautiously. He told me that Bianca had been falling apart, that their marriage wasn't what it looked like online. He said the perfect image they projected was starting to crack. And that's when I noticed it. The first fracture. The first real opening. Not for reconciliation, but for something far more satisfying. Justice. So I started responding more often. Always polite. Always composed. Supportive, but never fully open. He began venting more and more. About her controlling behavior. About the scenes she caused in public. About the pressure she put on him and on everyone around her. "She's obsessed with her image," he wrote. "She checks your posts constantly. She loses it if I even like something related to you." He continued. "She talks about you like you're the villain. But honestly, I don't see it anymore." With every message, he revealed more. He told me how she treated the house staff, how she manipulated his mother, how she twisted stories to their friends, claiming I had always been jealous of her. And I listened. I paid attention. I kept track, because I wasn't interested in just walking away. I wanted her to feel what I had felt, not through shouting, not through public humiliation, but through consequences. And Rodrigo was handing me everything I needed, piece by piece. The plan was still forming. She had humiliated me in front of hundreds of people, turned me into a spectacle like I meant nothing. Now it was my turn, and when the moment came, she would learn, slowly and painfully, that some people don't just walk away. Some come back stronger, sharper, ready. One quiet night, after yet another round of messages with Rodrigo, something finally clicked. Up until then, I had been observing, collecting everything. His complaints, his frustrations, his so-called honesty. He sounded convincing, hurt, vulnerable, but something didn't feel right. He kept repeating the same things, that Bianca was controlling, toxic, impossible to live with, that their marriage was a disaster. And yet, he stayed. More than that, he was getting closer to me. Too close. His messages began crossing lines. "You've always been different," he wrote. "She never appreciated you. If I had met you first," that's when it became clear. Their relationship wasn't as broken as he claimed. He wasn't just venting. He was testing boundaries, trying to slip into my life, trying to position me as the better option, the one he should have chosen. And in that moment, everything aligned. I saw my opportunity, not just to respond to what Bianca had done to me on her wedding day, but to make her see the truth for herself, to make her feel betrayal, to make her experience what it's like to be blindsided, exposed, and deceived. Not by me, by the person she trusted the most, her own husband. I continued the conversation, careful, controlled, neutral. Meanwhile, he kept pushing forward. More compliments, more attention, calling me beautiful, telling me he thought about me. Until finally, he said it. "We should meet, just to talk. No pressure." I played along, said maybe, suggested something private, discreet. He didn't hesitate. "There's a motel near downtown," he replied. It's quiet. I could be there around 6. That was all I needed. I took screenshots of everything. Every message. Every word. Time-stamped. Saved. Even the earlier ones, where he insulted Bianca, called their marriage fake, described her as impossible. Then I created an anonymous email. The subject line was simple. You deserve to know the truth. I attached the screenshots. And in the body of the message, I wrote, if you want to see it for yourself, he made plans to meet her at Motel Onyx today at 6 p.m. The choice is yours. No name, just one final line. From someone who knows what it feels like to be lied to. I arrived early. Hoodie, sunglasses, cap. I parked across the street at a gas station, my phone ready, camera positioned carefully. At 5:57, she arrived. Alone. Her posture was rigid, her expression cold. She held her phone tightly as she walked in, like someone who already knew the truth but needed to confirm it. At 6:03, Rodrigo showed up. He adjusted his shirt, fixed his hair, completely unaware of what was waiting for him. He walked inside, and then he saw her. Bianca stood in the middle of the hallway, arms crossed, completely still. The moment their eyes met, everything exploded. He froze. She didn't. She stepped forward, shouting, shoving him, holding up her phone with the messages. You thought I wouldn't find out? She yelled. You thought I was stupid? You were going to cheat on me again? He tried to explain, stumbling, backing away, but she didn't give him the chance. Her voice got louder, her anger sharper. She hit his chest, cursed at him, demanded answers. The staff at the front desk just stood there, frozen, unsure whether to intervene or pretend they weren't witnessing everything unfold. A betrayal, raw and undeniable, happening right in front of them. And I recorded all of it. Every second. Clear audio. Steady frame. Later that night, I uploaded the video from an anonymous account. The caption read, from the wedding of a year to the motel of the truth. And the internet did the rest. People recognized her almost immediately. The comments came flooding in, wave after wave. Wait, isn't this the girl from the Buy Me a House wedding? Well, I guess now she finally has somewhere to live. Alone. Rodrigo really walked straight into his own downfall. This is karma in full HD. Within 24 hours, Bianca had deleted all of her social media accounts. Rodrigo did the same, but it didn't matter. The story had already spread. The video was everywhere. There was no taking it back. The divorce happened quickly. No negotiations. No asset division. No drawn-out discussions. She was forced out of Rodrigo's family home in disgrace, labeled unstable by neighbors who had heard the shouting and witnessed the fallout. Her friends disappeared. No one wanted to be associated with her anymore. She was left with nothing. No husband, no social circle, no dignity. And worst of all, no way to erase what had happened. Because the internet doesn't forget. I never spoke to either of them again. I didn't need to. I kept the original video, not to share it again, but as a reminder. Sometimes, revenge doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't require shouting or destruction. It only needs the right timing. Clarity. Precision. Bianca destroyed herself. All I did was show her the reflection. Months passed. The noise faded. The video stopped circulating. Social media moved on to the next scandal, as it always does. But I stayed at peace. Not because I had taken revenge, but because I had finally closed a chapter that should have ended long ago. The truth is, our friendship had been over for years. What remained wasn't connection, it was expectation. Entitlement. Jealousy disguised as closeness. And the moment I let that go, I felt something shift inside me. I felt lighter, freer. I returned to my life, my calm routines, my quiet evenings, the freedom of no longer being someone's emotional or financial support system. And then, unexpectedly, she came back. Bianca. Alone. No filters. No polished image. No shining confidence. Just a message. I don't want anything. I just need to talk. I almost ignored it. But curiosity got the better of me. We met at a small, quiet cafe in the middle of the afternoon. Neutral ground. No audience. No performance. Just silence. She looked different. Smaller somehow. Tired. Like someone who had finally been forced to confront herself. She sat across from me and spoke first. I came to say I'm sorry. I didn't respond. She continued. For everything. For how I treated you at the wedding. For what I said. For how I made you feel. Her voice trembled slightly. I lost control. I convinced myself that you owed me something just because we were friends. I thought having you in my life meant I deserved more. She paused, and I ruined everything. I lost you. I lost my marriage. I lost everything. Everyone left, and I don't blame them. She looked up at me. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. She didn't know. She had no idea. She didn't know that I was the one who arranged that meeting, that I was behind the anonymous email, that I was the one who recorded everything and let the truth reach the world. In her version of reality, I was still just the girl she humiliated, the one who quietly walked away. And I let her believe that, because sometimes silence is its own form of justice. I took a breath and finally spoke. Bianca, what you did to me wasn't just petty, it was cruel. She lowered her gaze. You turned me into a spectacle. You used our friendship like a prop, expecting me to fund your life just because you couldn't afford it yourself. My voice remained steady, and when I refused, you tried to destroy me publicly. I paused. You didn't just hurt me. You disrespected everything we ever shared. Tears filled her eyes. I continued. You confused friendship with convenience. And the moment I stopped giving you what you wanted, you threw me away. She shook slightly, trying to speak, but I didn't let her interrupt. What you built, based on appearances, it collapsed. And that's on you. She opened her mouth again, but I cut her off. You didn't lose everything because people are cruel. You lost everything because you were greedy, selfish, and arrogant. Silence settled between us. And maybe now you're looking for redemption, I added quietly. But you won't find it with me. She was crying now, her hands trembling. But I felt no pity, only clarity. I stood up, picked up my bag, and ended it with one final truth. I don't want a friend who sees me as a bank account. I want peace. And I found it the moment you left my life. I looked at her one last time. You never knew how to be a friend. Now you'll have to learn how to be a decent human being. Goodbye, Bianca. I walked away without turning back, and I never spoke to her again. She still doesn't know that I was the one who brought her perfect marriage to an end. But that's no longer my concern, because that's how I ended a childhood friendship. Not out of hatred, but out of self-respect. To protect myself from her greed, her manipulation, and everything she chose to become. What did you think of this story in this format? Leave your feedback in the comments to help improve the channel. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. See you in the next video.